Contrary to what we see in Jurassic World, dinosaurs like this could not pick up people. Although I wouldn't doubt this one here trying to pick me up and drop me off to be Mosasaur Chow. Bad dinosaur. You shouldn't think that. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we're taking a look at another one of the Power of the Prime's Dinobots. This time around we have Swoop. Swoop, of course, was the Dinobot Bombardier, and he was a popular figure amongst Generation 1 fans, as he was one of the few Dinobots that could fly. Unfortunately, the Bombardier function doesn't carry over onto this version of Swoop, since unlike his Generation 1 counterpart, this version of Swoop includes no launchers that would attach to his wings. So he has no missiles or bombs to deliver. Now, before we get too far into this review of him, I do want to point something out that I noticed from the packaging here. Unlike some of the other Dinobots that we've reviewed this month, where their appearances were drawn more from their Generation 1 toy, it appears that Swoop was changed at some point to somewhat more match his cartoon appearance. So the Generation 1 version of Swoop did not have this blue body. The blue body was an add-on to the cartoon version of Swoop. But, as we can see from the card backer that he came with, the original body was done up in red, which would have been more in line with the Generation 1 toy. So, obviously, the one on the packaging, especially since we also see it has a clear, down here you can notice the head is done up in a more clear plastic. Whereas here on the toy, it's done in a trans-yellow plastic. So the original prototype was done more or less in line with the Generation 1 toy, but for some reason was changed just before it was mass-produced to be somewhat closer to the cartoon version. However, there was a version of Swoop done as an exclusive to Hasbro Pulse with the other Dinobots that was done to match more the Generation 1 cartoon versions. Unfortunately, that version of Volcanicus is one I don't have, so I won't be able to show that one off to you. Alright, let's take a look now at Swoop's accessories. And we'll start with his lone weapon. He comes with a red sword, which is sort of done up in a style that's very similar to the Generation 1 toy's sword. Except this one's done out of a lot harder plastic than the original toy's sword. It's kind of said that the blade on their swords are done up to be energon blades, so they're sort of similar to the lightsabers from Star Wars. At least in the sense that it's an energy sword. I don't expect the Dinobots had the skill to be able to swat away blaster fire, but you never know. Plus, this one has the added feature that it has this smaller post right here, just above the hilt, where it can be attached to the dinosaur mode. So it allows him to store his weapon no matter what mode he's in. And then, of course, like all deluxe class Power of the Prime figures, he has this Prime armor. Of course, this one's more unique for Volcanicus, since it has the extra claws here on the backside, which was something that the others did not have. And of course, like all the others, you can rearrange the post and these pieces, and it will become a set of armor. This is how you have to configure it to fit Swoop. On the inside here, you'll see right here on the thumb pieces, there are a couple of small posts. And those will line up with some holes that are right here, somewhat just near the eyes of the Pteranodon face. But they're right up against Swoop's chest. They're like right up near the top. Once you plug those in, then Swoop can wear his armor. And of course, like the others, the Prime Armor does have, as I just dropped it on the floor, a section of clear plastic. And this is where a little Prime figure can be attached inside, so that it would grant him some extra powers. And of course, just like with many of the others that we've reviewed, he can also hold it as a shield, as you saw. And the clear piece can be used as a smaller weapon. Again, I don't really see the point in that, but it's hard for me to say on that. Alright, let's take a look now at Swoop's articulation. And he has what would be considered normal for most figures released in the modern era. His head can be turned from side to side, and it is on a small ball joint, so it will look up and down a bit. You can raise his arm out to the side, about so far. His arms do rotate at the shoulder all the way, but the wings do get in the way of it. You can bend his arm at the elbow, about 90 degrees, and end up pushing his hand back in. He also has a swivel at the bicep, so he has G.I. Joe battle grip. Always nice. He can be twisted at his hips. You have to raise the dinosaur beak up a bit to adjust it, but it does allow him to do that. You can spread his legs apart into almost a full splits. He does have a thigh cut, which does allow for some great range of motion. You can raise his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and you can bend his leg at the knee a little greater than 90 degrees. He also has articulation at the ankles, but that's a little bit more for his transformation than for real posability. Okay, to transform him into his Pteranodon mode, we start by taking the figure, we'll fold his arms, fold the fists inside his arms. Then we're going to turn the arms at the elbow so that the spot where we put the hands in can be seen by us. Then we got these little posts that are right here along the sides of his arm, and they will connect into a hole at his waist. And you may have to help bend the elbows a bit, especially if your figure is brand spanking new, like this one is. Then we come down here to his legs. We're going to press the legs together. When we come up here, we're going to take the dinosaur face and fold it up and attach it to his real face for a moment. Then we come back here to the back side of his legs. We're going to fold his feet in like that. And then we're going to take these two posts that are here on the back of the legs, and they're going to line up with these pieces, these holes right here on the back of the wings. It looks like that T-bar piece from Tetris. That in there. Then we can come up here and we can move the head. We're going to set him up where he's in flight. So we're going to have the head pointing out like that. Come down here to the wings. We'll fold out the wing tips. Then we can come back here and fold his legs out and over. And then position the feet like so. And there we have Swoop in his Dinobot mode. He does swoosh pretty good. You do get some movement here with the wings. And of course, the feet can be moved and positioned in a lot of angles. So that's always nice. But now to complete the look, with all of his accessories, you'll take the prime armor. It has a couple of long holes there in the back, and they will line up here. Make sure you got the posts protruding elsewhere, so that way that connects, and instructions show that the claws are at the front. So it goes this way. Just like that. And then, of course, we can attach the sword to this little hole on the lower part of his beak, if we hold the sword in the right direction. There we go. And that's to complete the attack bird version. Rather weird and strange looking, if you ask me. I think the sword's a little too much. Okay, one other thing I do want to make mention of, we can open up the dinosaur's mouth as well. We didn't point that out in the articulation. As I said, this is a brand new figure, so hadn't really had much of a chance to look at him before we reviewed him. But alright, now to get him ready to be a limb for Volcanicus, because we're going to make him an arm. Canonically, Swoop is the right arm for Volcanicus. To do that, we're going to have to put him back most of the way. So we'll start by, we get the head lowered. We're going to fold in the tips of the wings. Straighten out the dinosaur legs, and then fold them back over. Then we're going to pop the dinosaur pop the robot legs free, fold them all the way down. And then once they're all the way down, we're going to bring the feet out, but do not separate them. Keep the legs together. Come up here to his arms and separate them from his waist. Yep, legs came apart. Alright, come up here to the arms. We're going to rotate the arm at the elbow, at the bicep again. Then bend the arm up at the elbow. You'll notice back here at the elbow, there's a little post protruding there. And it should line up with a hole right here at the side of his chest. So you just plug that in. We'll do the same here on the other side. The arm bent, and then plug it in. There we go. You gotta have them perfectly bent. Now you're gonna come up here to the wings, and you're gonna shift them at the shoulder so they come down, so the wings are perfectly straight and horizontal. And then we will fold the wings like so up against his arms. Now we're going to take this section with the head, pop it free, and just lower it a little bit like that. We'll come here to his backside, and we're going to pull out his connection post. Then we come down here, and we're going to turn Swoop at his hips a quarter of an angle. And there he is in arm mode. Of course, all that's left is to attach the hand. which of course is the Prime Armor. We'll reach inside the Prime Armor here, and we're going to fold out the fingers. And we can fold down the side pieces to help close everything off. I'm going to shift the fingers a bit so it kind of looks like a closed fist. And of course, make sure that this post is protruding in the right direction. And then we just attach it here to Swoop's feet. Hence the importance that his legs stay together. And then here we are. Anybody out there need a hand? Yeah, I know, it's a sick joke. Alright, but getting down to my thoughts, I kind of like how this version of Swoop turned out. It does look pretty good. It is interesting, though, that they chose to go with a hybrid of the Generation 1 toy and the Generation 1 cartoon versions of Swoop. Especially after seeing that the prototype was more geared towards the Generation 1 toy. Granted, I would have liked it to have been more like that, so it would have matched better with the others, but I'm content with how this one turned out. It does pay a nice homage to both forms of the character. And it also saves me money from having to buy the complete form of Volcanicus from Hasbro. Of course, by now they're not selling it anymore, so I wouldn't be able to buy it from them anyways. And I shudder to think what it would cost me now. But all in all, this version of Swoop did turn out rather well. It's nicely to scale with the others for forming a combiner. But I'm also looking forward to Swoop's eventual release as part of the Studio Series 86 line. So, for the time being, though, this one is a pretty good version to have. And that's my review of the Power of the Primes version of Swoop. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Now, please do remember that if you like the content we feature on this channel, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.